Good morning. My name is Caitlin, and welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time, I am dressed up today because I have a work dinner this evening, and it's at a fancy restaurant. So just bear with me. This isn't. I tried to pick something comfortable. It's stretchy. But I didn't realize there's a zipper in the back, and I don't know. I just, trying to there's like a hook, but the thing that you hook it to, the loop's not there, and I can feel it anyways. I brought a scarf that I might have to put a little bit of it between my zipper and my back while I'm sitting at work. Anyways, this is what happens when I try to look nice. Yeah, so other than that, really distracting me. Yesterday was pretty boring. Yeah, it was really uneventful. So, not much to report on there. Tried to get some more studying done in my free time, and that's basically all I did. Man, it's getting hot in here. I don't know. Ugh. I'm just gonna have to hold it. So, man, I'm just I don't know why I'm getting hot all of a sudden. Anyways, here's my hair for the first time in, I don't know, long time. It's getting too long, and I don't like it, but I am also cheap, and like to have my partner's mom cut it because she does it for free, and it's really nice of her. But I also feel bad asking for somebody to do something for me, so I just haven't asked. So yeah, that's just how I am. Oh, that's much better. I just unzipped it a bit, and now the hook is not on me. Okay, we're good. Figured it out. Solved the problem. Anyways, let's dive into Unit 5 of what I've been learning in my neurodiversity support training. So some of these things are mentioned in multiple units, so it can seem a bit redundant, but when you see how it applies to each section, it kind of makes sense why it was mentioned. But I won't focus too much on the redundant information. But Unit 5 is on strength-based approach to support, which I know we've mentioned before when it comes to neurodiversity in the workplace, which was last episode's unit. So yeah, but this is different because he's kind of talking about the strength-based approach to general support, not just in the workplace. Man, I took a magnesium salt bath this morning, which was nice, but man, my shoulders are not happy. I think trying to scrub my back, I've both of my shoulders popped, and I mean, just because I can get all the way, like, to the middle of my back doesn't mean I should. You know? Maybe, yeah. Anyways, focus. Um, so it starts off with conducting assessments that highlight strengths and capabilities rather than limitations. So that's something that I really want to dive more into, and I hope the course does. If not, I'll do it on my own. But basically, assessments that are really geared towards figuring out what those strengths are, because we know everyone has strengths and everyone has limitations, but like, what are good ways of finding those strengths? We tend to notice the limitations more because they are limiting us. You know, we're trying to do something and it's not working, or we're trying to do something and we can't, and it, you know, it basically just it's more disruptive to our lives, and we don't tend to maybe notice our strengths as much because it's just like, oh, well, you know, I can do that. And not really understanding that, like, maybe you can do that better than most people and you don't even know. I know that I tend, at least used to, I'm trying to not do that, but I used to kind of belittle my strengths as like, oh yeah, well, whatever, you know. Because I just didn't really believe that other people couldn't do things just as well as me in that area. You know, I had a lot of negative self-beliefs when it comes to, you know, they're just saying that because I'm weak in other areas, or they're just saying that because I can do the thing, not because I am actually like really good at it or are stronger than, you know. So just trying not to compare myself to other people, but also realizing that there are strengths, the things that I am really good at. You don't have to be necessarily better than other people to have a strength in a certain area, but just kind of figuring out for you, in comparison to your abilities, what are areas that you are better at, so that we can focus on how to support those and use those. And sometimes those things, we can even find coping strategies for the limitations through those strengths. So then it goes into collaborating with individuals to set goals based on their strengths and aspirations. So I know that for me, I tend to have a lot of ideas of things that I want to do. And some of them are just not realistic because I am not strong in those areas. So setting goals that are in alignment with your strengths, and like having some excitement over those things will like drastically help in being able to have fulfillment in what you're doing, and also, you know, have notable like improvements in your general like functioning and quality of life. Because setting goals that are not based on your strengths is only going to lead to frustration down the line. And then, you know, in some cases, like with me, it can lead to burnout and physical pain, and even in some cases it can lead to autoimmune diseases and other issues, because you push yourself so far thinking that, you know, I have to do this goal that I set for myself. And sometimes it's hard when we don't know what our strengths and limitations are. You know, I didn't know for a long time I didn't even know till recently that I was neurodivergent. So I set a lot of goals for myself that were not based on my strengths. They were not based on things that I was even necessarily capable of. It was just things that I wanted to do. And so now that I know, I feel like I have a lot more control and abilities to do things that I really want to do, because I've kind of shifted my focus of what do I want to do and how can I really align that with what I'm able to do. And I found that I'm actually more capable than I thought especially when I was in burnout. I just thought, well, I'm sick all the time. I can't do anything that I want to do, and it got really depressing. But when you start working with your body and with your brain, things start to fall into place a lot better, at least for me. So it's really important to have, someone exterior to help you kind of set your goals and keep you accountable to those goals, and just remind you that you have goals. Sometimes that's necessary, but it's also really important for you to have that internal as well. And then we move on to fostering self-advocacy and self-determination. So when we're in a state of burnout, it's really hard to advocate for ourselves and really listen to our body. It seems like everything's screaming. But the more we kind of listen to our body's cues, try to reduce the things that are stressing our nervous system, and do different things to heal our nervous system, we can start to self-regulate. Once we've gotten to the point of being able to self-regulate enough to function to the degree that you can think more clearly for yourself, and at least do the self-care tasks, the basic necessities. I'm not talking about functioning as in being able to work full-time and all of that. I'm just talking about basic necessities that you're able to do for yourself. Then we can really focus on self-advocacy. A lot of times, before we get to that point, we need that advocacy from someone else. And, obviously we hope that people don't end up in this burnout phase, but I did. And I didn't know, a lot of women especially don't know that they're neurodivergent until after they're in one of these phases, and that's when they start realizing something is different and very wrong right now. Obviously, if we can advocate for ourselves during that time, that's great, but that's when it is really helpful to have someone outside yourself to be able to advocate when you're in that phase. But if you're not in that phase, then, I'm not currently, thankfully, really advocating for yourself. You have to kind of follow it in order. You have to know what your strengths and limitations are in order to advocate for yourself. But once we can kind of pinpoint, we don't need to know everything, but pinpoint some of those, it's really impactful, and has been for me to just know what I need, what kind of accommodations that I need. I'm still working on some of that, but I'm trying to do my best outside of work to regulate myself, so that I'm able to do work that requires a lot of my time. But just like the strength side of things, I do want to focus a little bit more on, because I think I still don't have the best understanding of my own strengths. And so, the whole point for me going through this course is, if I can discover all of these things about myself, maybe then I can help other people discover and really work through this as well, and maybe make it a little bit easier for other people. But after, self-advocacy, that's something that we should have, anytime that we are capable. I stress that a lot, because there have been times where I just haven't even been capable of advocating for myself, and it's led to me being dismissed by a lot of medical professionals. So it's important to kind of ask for someone to be with you in those situations. But self-advocacy is very important. And just being determined to meet the goals that you set after you understand what your strengths and limitations are. Because I know for me, it wasn't that I wasn't determined. It was that I had the wrong goals. So if we can set realistic, attainable goals, I think that's the most important step. And then building a strong network of support involving family, friends, professionals, and community resources. So I know that for me, my family has been, very important in my journey. I've shared with them all along the way, all of the things that I'm learning, and maybe not all of the things, but I definitely have talked with them, and I really appreciate them being open and listening. I know a lot of people don't have that, and it's not that my family was totally on board first thing, but I also tend to be the kind of nerdy, info dumping, fact bombing person in the family. I just kind of am like that, and my dad's a little bit like that too, and so I think that's where I get it from, where if I have new information that I am excited about, then I'm gonna share it. I just can't not do that. So I kind of have had to say something. I can't just not say something. The very few times in my life where I felt really disconnected from my family and haven't talked to them very much has been, very isolating for me. So I really appreciate the relationship that we have now. And I don't have very many friends, I'll be honest. I have, I think, 3 friends, and I don't talk to them very much. I talk to them, I don't actually talk to them very often, once every several months will I actually speak to them. But we send memes, or we'll, text a bit. Doesn't mean that we're not good friends, but it's just I'm not really good with consistent communication, especially when life is just kind of crazy. Life is so much, it's hard to remember or think of what to say. I don't, unless I have a cue of what I should be saying, it's kind of hard to know what to say. Just say, hey, I'm thinking of you. I've never done that. I don't know why. But I think that has to do with some of the communication issues. And then, then there's my partner. My partner is really more in the family category. I think I talk to him every day, and it really, he's a really huge part of my external regulation. So I know that self-regulation is super important, but it's also really hard, and I find it a lot easier to regulate when I have someone around that helps keep me regulated, I guess. So he has a very calming effect on me, which is good. And professionals. I do have a therapist. I keep meaning to get back to her. I have not had an appointment since like before Christmas. But she's cool. I may look for a different one that has more neurodivergent training, but it's more the schedule. My schedule's crazy. She hardly ever has times available when I have time available, and if I put it in the middle of the day, I'm not going to make it. I've already missed so many appointments, and it's expensive. When you miss an appointment, they have like a crazy charge, and yeah, it's hard for me to maintain regular appointments. I think that's kind of a problem. And I think that definitely is more the ADHD side of things, where I just get distracted and I don't even think about it. And then, then the autism side of it comes in, where I have, I'm in the middle of a task and I have to finish it, and then I don't even realize that I totally missed my appointment. So, yeah, it's, ugh. But it's important to have, even though I want to eventually get into coaching, like, that is not a replacement for traditional therapies. Obviously, if you can't afford to go to therapy, if you don't have insurance and all of that, coaching is better than, not having anything, but it's still, not the same level of education on mental health conditions. So just to put that out there. And then community resources. I know that I'm not very good at utilizing community resources. But it can be really important, especially for individuals who don't drive. Knowing your local bus schedules, and knowing, maybe even if they have disability programs that you can get, be a part of, that help with, assistance in transportation. That's a big thing in the community. I personally don't have enough struggles with driving, and I also have more struggles with being around people in a bus situation. But you do the best that you can with what you have. But there are lots of other community resources. And, if you have, if your home life isn't the best, or if you just really need a quiet place to get away to, like, having access to your local library can be really helpful. You don't even have to read. You can just go bring a quiet fidget toy and your phone with headphones and just, like, get away in a calm environment. So really, I would like to learn more about, other community resources that would be useful for neurodivergent people, but those are two things that come to the top of my head. And then just shifting away from the deficit mindset, focusing on strengths and possibilities. Because while it's important to understand what limitations we have, I think that's a better word to use. Because when we think of, in the medical model of the DSM, using the DSM to diagnose these disorders, they're disordered compared to neurotypicals or compared to the way that our society is structured. However, that doesn't mean that we're necessarily deficient. We're just different, and trying to kind of shift the thinking, especially internally, because you can't change what other people think. Obviously bringing awareness to things is really helpful, but ultimately you can't decide what someone else is going to believe. But if you can change that mindset within yourself, I know that that's been extremely helpful for me. It's drastically improved my mental health. Because I'm not constantly, battling with my own brains and why are you like this? What's wrong with you? That internal, critic that I have. Everyone has one, but mine was really loud. And so just really feeding your internal friend, the person that, that voice that's telling you that it's okay, and nurturing you, and, if something happens that, this is why that happened. We're not going to get upset that it happened. Or, it's perfectly understandable that you're upset right now, and we're not going to be upset forever. That you're allowed to feel the feelings that you have. Just being gracious with yourself, that has helped me so much. And no one's perfect. I'm not perfect at it, but 100% recommend. Just, it takes time. You're not going to be good at it all the time. There's still going to be times where that inner critic comes out. But the more we practice being gracious to ourselves, the easier it gets, and the more of a habit you get into. And you have to keep at it. You have to keep being determined. And I think that's one of the biggest things to be determined on, is being gracious with yourself. Because I'm always so afraid of what other people are going to think. If other people are going to think I'm weak, or, I'm not able to do the things that other people are doing. If I have to call out of work, everyone's going to be inconvenienced, and, I get really worried about things. And just knowing that, ultimately, if I am taking care of myself and doing what's best for myself, that's what's going to be most beneficial for everyone in the long run. And yeah, sometimes people are going to be inconvenienced by my needs. But I'm inconvenienced by not attending to those needs. So what is more important in that moment? And sometimes, if you have kids or a caretaker, sometimes you have to put other people's needs before your own, and sometimes you have to compromise. And but I know that for me, I tend to do way more of that and not taking care of myself. Not even feeling like I'm worth taking care of myself. So I know that can be a huge struggle, especially for women. So just trying to change that perspective. And then, challenging misconceptions and stereotypes. There are a lot of misconceptions around ADHD and autism. It's not necessarily neurotypical people's fault that these things are believed, A lot of times it has to do with what is presented, and I think that it's changing a lot now that, enough of us, neurodivergent people are speaking up, and really talking about what our experiences are like. But I think that's why it's so important to do things like this. I started this podcast as a way to just talk about things that I'm going through because I need to get them out in order to process. But the more I'm doing this, the more I am listening to other people speak on their experiences. And I'm taking this course, and I'm just really honed in on this topic. I've realized how important it is for me and I think for everyone in society that we speak up about our experiences, and not just neurodivergent people. I think it's important that we can see all different aspects of diverse groups of people. I think we need to hear more from really any minority group, because that's how we can really pave a way forward. So yeah, I think inclusivity and really understanding where other people are coming from, building that empathy for people that are different than you. I think the more we try to do that, even just at an individual level, it'll hopefully have a huge impact on our society. But even just in our own little communities, you can see tangible changes. So anyways, I'm not going to keep you guys for an hour this time. So I'll just do one unit. And I have a work dinner tonight. I know I think I talked about it yesterday, but I don't remember. I think so. It's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be loud. Bringing my earplugs, and I'm going to just I'm wearing a stretchy dress because I don't want to have problems with being uncomfortable. I am going to be wearing heels, but I didn't wear them the whole day because screw that. I also wore sweatpants under my dress because my legs were going to be really cold. Also, I didn't have time nor the energy to shave, so I'm wearing tights. And you know what? That's totally fine. I did shave my armpits because I was like, fine, I guess I'll do that. But I'm just doing what I can do and being okay with what that is. Trying to take care of myself. I think it's definitely helping my mental health. So it's a lot more work than you think. But it's also just evident to me that we don't really live in a society that's structured for us to be able to take care of ourselves. So I don't really feel bad about struggling as much because it feels like it's kind of set up that way. And it's not my fault that I am struggling. So I think that's a big shift in my thinking this year. I know at the beginning of the year definitely felt different. So, well, beginning of last year felt very different. So that's one aspect that I am really, really grateful that has changed over the past 6 months. So, anywho, I will let you guys go, but thank you for listening, and I'll share one funny anecdote as I put my hat back on, because I'm now not hot anymore. There apparently was a member at one of the places that, one of the locations that I work at, and they were asking my coworker why I wear this hat all the time, and I didn't know that, but I made a joke to my coworker that was like, such an autistic thing to do, to wear the same hat every single day. And he was like, yeah, there was someone who was asking about that. I was like, oh no. But something that was nice was my coworker was like, yeah, it's none of their business. You know, it's none of their business if you want to wear the same hat every day. Like, what does it matter? So that was really nice. My coworkers are great, honestly. So that was funny. I think I know who it was because someone came up to me later and was like, so when are you going to take that hood off? And I was like, when it's not cold out. Yeah. I don't know. I like it. It feels safe. It's soft. It's really fuzzy and soft on the inside. It feels like a blanket on the inside. And then it's like a stim thing. When I'm walking through the halls, I just do this. It's a safety thing, I think. I really just like the feeling of having something on my head. So when it is hot out, I'm gonna have to stop wearing it, and then I will miss it. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that I'm wearing it all the time. It's nobody's business. But yeah, I hope you guys have a really good rest of your day, whatever it is that you are up to, and thank you for listening. And looks like people are getting here. Yeah. Wish me luck tonight. Socializing. Yay! Anyways, thank you for being awesome, and always remember that you are enough.